Tonight we choose our top 5 Big 12 teams, and does EA Sports have ESPN employees?
Yeah, it sure looks like it.
Grab a drink and join tonight's tailgate. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us on tonight's tailgate. I am Luke, and I'm joined by...
Michael.
That would make me Dennis.
That would make you Dennis.
And we appreciate you being here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
So tonight we are going to be talking about who we think the top 5 teams are in the Big 12.
Oh, dang it, I did back 12.
The Back 12? Okay,
Well, back 12.
just look at it while we talk about the game. But before we get to that, obviously I think there's a new game that's come out.
Yeah,
I
already.
don't play games. They didn't release it for the PlayStation 3. So,
Yeah,
you know,
PlayStation 3. Yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah. So I can't play the new college football game.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of fun. But, so what do you think? Do you guys have it?
Yes, I mean, I don't have it. But I've also kind of, I am PC master race. And so while, yeah, you could play it on the PC, why would I corrupt my PC with a sports game when I could play like a fantasy world or something like that, just because that's more fun for me.
I mean, it's a fantasy world for specific teams.
Yeah, it is a fantasy. Yeah. And you know what? Let's get into that. Because definitely EA has made it a fantasy world for one particular team.
Yeah.
And that particular team does happen to be in the Big 12, and that team is Arizona. No, I'm just kidding. It's Colorado.
Colorado.
Sorry, I know you take receipts, Dion, but we don't care.
Because we're not.
Yeah,
How old for tax?
Giving all this for free.
that's right. That's right. Unless you're a sponsor, and then we approve. Of whatever it is you're going to sponsor for.
Most East.
Always.
Yeah, so like I know one of the things that's been a kind of a contingent for us when we're talking in our chat or whatnot is the fact that like Dennis, who has played these games a little bit more religiously than I or Luke over the past few years, it's one of those things like they will just send out updates as they continue, the season continues and stuff like that to make things a little bit more accurate. But they initially start their with their base release, their base game, putting Colorado like with one of the best offensive rankings and the best overall quarterback with the best overall receiver in the game, which is just odd. It's just straight up odd to me. Because I mean, again, we're not going to get here and we're not here to like pick on Travis Hunter or Shedeur Sanders, like in the sense of like, are they really that bad or are they really that good? We actually think pretty highly of Travis Hunter in particular.
Yep,
he did a phenomenal job last year, especially with as much as he's played and with what he's given. Like he's not really given that much. If you put him on a different team, he probably would do better. But is he the best? No. I like it. Could he contend for the best? I think so.
sure.
I think if he focused on one position, he could easily become the best in that position.
Sure.
Let it be receiver or corner, but if you're splitting his talents, it just takes one hell of a person just to be able to be the best at both ends.
Sure.
And for me, I have, like, if you want to, like, we could sit here and we could make these arguments all day for Travis Hunter because, like you said, we all think very highly of him. We think that he has good skills on both sides of the ball. But the problem that I have is in the quarterback.
Sure.
Because Shedeur Sanders, I can't even say his name right. While do I think he has some raw talent? Sure. Do I think that he's good?
Sure.
Just where? Is that our new, like, for,
I guess, like,
I agree. Sit here. But with all that, I can sit here and as I go through it, Carson Beck is a better quarterback. I personally think Jackson Dart is a better quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So I can go through it. I could probably list at least 5 or 6 quarterbacks that I think would be better before I get to Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
And so not only that, but to have their strengths, I think they were in the top 15.
Yeah.
Was that correct?
17.
17. Okay.
Yeah.
So right outside.
They're top 25 of offense and defense.
Right.
Which is right on the list.
Which, yeah. And again, when we mentioned in the intro, obviously the last episode we talked about ESPN's inadequacies in choosing what the biggest question mark was for teams. Now they're having an issue, or EA is having an issue, just realistically realistically showing how strong a team is.
Yeah, their simulation just seems to be off. It's just like the thing is, like, if you were to go and put Georgia and Alabama on a field, consistently, you're looking at a Georgia team this year that would probably beat Alabama 60% of the time.
Yeah.
But if you were to go and put it through the CFB 25, they're looking at 25% of the time, and Alabama only wins 25% of the time, and then Colorado wins 50% of the time. How that works, I don't know. But the simulations have come in a little into question. I know that there was a big article that came out on let's see what day it was. It would have been the 19th of July. And or may have been the 18th, but essentially they did 25 simulations of all the way through the Natty just to see what happened, and they had Boise State winning one of those Natties with
Go Broncos.
Which, I mean, listen, if that happens, we'll have those guys on from Shirts and Skins Plus, and we'll have those guys back on, and
I feel like they would be more than happy to.
Yeah, we'll send them a bottle of whiskey or something like that, like just to celebrate with them, like that'd be super.
I think they like potatoes over there, so probably
we'll send them some potatoes then. But it's one of those things, like, is the likelihood of that can happen? No. They also, the simulation had only Ohio State winning 3 times versus Oregon winning 9 times, which is very strange to me. I think Ohio State is a better team altogether, and I'm going to say that because I don't want people to go, oh, well, Luke is saying it, because he's the Ohio State fan.
I mean, I like Oregon.
Is this not like I talk about Ohio State every episode? Or...
No, I was going to talk about it this time. And so I just think that there's definite need for some tweaking of the way that their simulations work to be a little bit more realistic. I've gotten onto the fact that their playbooks are not as accurate as they need to be to, like, the actual teams that they're representing. Now, I understand they're not going to have the exact playbook that the team uses, because that would also be dumb. But the fact
that they've got all the information.
They've got the information. Yeah, they've got the information for the type of play style of each team, and they kind of choose not to use that play style, which that to me is what bothers me the most. And so I just think this just feels a little bit more like a cash grab. But I also can understand why people are super excited about this game is out, because I personally would prefer to play this over a Madden game any day.
Like, personally for me, I like when you talked about Oregon winning 9, Ohio State winning 3, or whatever it was. Like, at least that is, it could happen.
Sure,
if Oregon and Ohio State played 12 times, if my math is correct. I could legitimately see, I don't think it would happen, but I could legitimately see Oregon winning 9 out of 12 like that. It's possible. The talent is there. It's possible. But for Boise State to win a national championship, even though I love Boise State, they're my second favorite. I feel like that's just a little more unrealistic. Like, you were talking about the old BCS. Go ahead.
If it was like the old way standard where you only play one game, I would say Boise State has a chance. But now you have to, especially now with the current playoff format, you have to win at least 3 games.
Yeah.
That's where I'll start questioning, like, can Boise do that?
Right.
And
just talent-wise, there's just too big of a disparity.
Talent and just you're playing completely different teams more than likely every single time.
The other roster also has to play into this too.
Yeah, like one week you could be playing Ohio State, and then you're going to play a different kind of team when you play Georgia, or you play another SEC team, or you would play another Big Ten teams. So it's like, if we really think about it, it's a Big Ten and SEC invite. So any team outside of that is being invited, and so you're going to have to play different kind of teams of that nature. But I don't see teams like Boise State being able to beat 3 teams back to back in either of those conferences. Yeah, especially if it's the top tier team.
Right. Now, at the end of the day, this is also a game.
And that I personally,
That needs to be 100% active. Gin Liz.
if you want to play, let me know your game attack.
Yeah, seriously, like, reach out to Des. You want to put your gamer tag in there? People can repost.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put in the caption description. So
Yeah, so there we go.
Oh, okay. We're gonna put it in the caption description. All right.
Yeah, editor. But all that to say, I think like it's a game and it's meant to be fun, and so I think digging into it, this
Too much. Yeah.
is kind of like it kind of goes against. It's like the whole questioning a movie because like, oh, it's not realistic. Well, that's a movie. Now I will say, for as long as this has been in development and as much hype as they have put behind this, I would expect to hear better things. Obviously, I've not played it. I can't speak from firsthand knowledge, but through Twitter, through talking to people, it seems as if like there's just a little bit left that they need to figure
I
out.
mean, you're spending $100 million building the game. You should be able to do something that's a little bit better than just
Get their playbook closed.
playbook. Get the playbook closed. You've got. I mean, even Josh Pate brought this up. Like you've got your stadium rankings wrong. Like they're just wrong. The fact that you have Oklahoma, which again, I'm not saying it's like a hard. It's an easy place to play because it's definitely going to be a hard place to play. But that you got that over Neyland Stadium, like, and I understand I'm a homer. Like I'm not saying that I'm not, but like Neyland Stadium by almost every metric is a top 5 difficult stadium to play in, and it's not even in the top 10 on ESPN on ESPN and on EA games. Seriously, at this point, the same thing. But the biggest, most egregious thing is the fanfare they clearly did to the Big 12, or for the Big 12 by including Colorado, which brings us to our top 5. So let's do what we did last week with our format. We'll start at number 5 and then work our way down, and each person can kind of give their reasoning for why they picked what they picked. Sound good?
Yeah. I say we start with Luke this time, going first.
Oh, we're gonna start with me. It's gonna start first.
All right. Last time I want to make him feel special. He can go first.
Well, at least this way I'm going first. So if me and Michael are the same on everything,
You can feel like
he's copying me.
Because I can see right now you're including a team I did not include.
Colorado.
No, I do not have Colorado.
He put prime of himself. He's like,
So
not the team.
right, just because in one of the cold ones that I had the other day, I said I may have to apologize to Prime, does not mean that I'm picking Colorado. No. So number 5 for me is Iowa State.
Okay.
That's a little bit of a stretch, and I get that. They are returning 17 of their starters, 90% of their offensive production, and 80% of their defensive production.
That was great.
They've got some transfers coming in, 7 of them that really are more of like gap fillers, kind of filling the space, making up a little bit for some depth pieces. I just have and I'm going on a little bit of it's kind of like me picking Miami last episode as my number 1 ACC team. This is a little bit more. I think they play, let's see here, the end of their, they play Kansas and then Utah and then Kansas State at the very end with Cincinnati in there. I think that they pull off one of those wins. I don't know which one. I kind of feel like Kansas State kind of there at the end. I think they pull one of those off. I just have a feeling. I don't know.
Okay.
So I've got them at number 5. It was really one of those. I came in and I wanted to choose Arizona, which I'll go ahead and say Arizona. Noah Fifita is still one of my favorite players, but I don't have them in my top 5.
Okay.
So it was between them and Iowa State, and I just went Iowa State. So
Well, you know what? I will take over there because I have Arizona in my top 5 because I actually do care about you, Noah Fifita. I'm just kidding. I know actually he really does like you. He's quite. So the reason why Iowa State, I will just spoil my top 5 to a little bit. Iowa State is not in my top 5, so I'm sorry, Josh Pate and Luke. Josh Pate has Iowa State going to winning the Big 12, or at least going to the Big 12 championship. It's okay. It's okay. I don't expect you guys to do anything the same. But my thing is with Iowa State, and the reason why they're not in my top 5 is they lost to Iowa last year. You can't lose to Iowa and be in the top 5.
What are you talking about? They had one of the best defenses, and their special team was off.
If you lose to the number 1 worst offense in the entire country, guess what? You don't get ranked anywhere close to my top 5 the following year. Doesn't matter where you're returning production because that clearly doesn't matter.
Well, can you really beat somebody that doesn't show up?
But yes, you can because their other side of the ball, they show up. So mine is Arizona. I have them as my number 5. I think it's hard to look past the fact that while they are only returning about 66% of their full production, their strength of schedule is really not hard. It's only 60, which is a big deal. The biggest question marks for Arizona really aren't a team thing. It's kind of, for me, just like Miami. It's a coach thing. Mm-hmm. If the coach had stayed, well, I don't think we'd have this conversation. I think they'd be number 2 or number 1. They'd be vying for that top spot. But I can understand why people wouldn't put them in the top 5 out of respect for what Noah Fifita is doing there. And for, realistically, they were just so incredibly good last year. They got into such a great groove. And I think that cohesion is going to carry over into this team, regardless of the actual coach. I just don't know if it's going to carry them all the way to a Big 12 championship.
Well, and I'll throw in a little way too early prediction here.
Sure.
Noah Fifita's gone at the end of the year. He's transferring.
You really think so?
Yep.
Even after all he said last year?
After all he said last year, I think that this year's different. I think that like I said, I had them going late, like being like that 5-6. Listen, I wouldn't be too surprised if they end up being in that like 3-4. But I think that I think Fifita shows out as a team. They don't really do much. And then next year he ends up going to it.
I think that'll really depend on his favorite receiving target.
I think he's going to go to the NFL.
If he jumps to the NFL, then I can see Fifita moving, just transferring to a different team.
Mark it down. I don't know what today is.
We're not even going to give away what today is.
We're not going to say what today is, but
because it's not live.
This is me saying Fifita's gone.
Okay.
The end of the season.
All right. So
my number 5 is actually one Kansas State.
Oh, okay. Let's get into that.
Will Howard left.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
I wonder where he went. Where was his choices?
It was some OSU, so Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it Oregon State University?
Might have been Oregon.
Could be. What is a team that actually wins? So she's one of those things. Probably Michigan. Yeah, they do like to win a lot and get tattooed about it. So,
anyways,
but no, mine it's Kansas State. They did lose their quarterback Will Howard. They're gonna get Avery Johnson, who when he played the game, he had a total 4 TDs. He's a dual threat. I think Kansas State does have potential to kind of move up better in the conference, but I think they're just overall better teams, and just Big 12 similar to AC. I feel like it's just gonna cannibalize itself, and there's gonna be certain teams that just kind of barely make it out, but I don't think it'll be like a team that has like 3-4 more wins. So I still feel like even though Kansas State is my number 5, they're not going to be far behind from like the 1 or 2 team. I feel like it's going to be like a 2-game, possibly 3-game difference from first to fifth.
Sure. Yeah. And again, see that this is like the most, as we've said, this is the most competitive conference in all of college football. As Josh Pate said, it is America's conference. I don't know if I agree with that, but whatever.
Yeah.
So
that's America. Yeah. Can't agree with it.
I mean, realistically, I think that the top 6 or 7.
I mean, you take out Iowa State, then like,
but no, I think the top 6 or 7 teams, you could really interchange them and make arguments.
You can even argue for the number 10 team, Colorado, even being at the top.
Well, we're not EA or ESPN, so
go ahead. Best probably receiver in the whole conference.
In the conference, maybe. I don't know.
I could make that argument. I think you can make that argument.
But yeah. Either way, speaking of Kansas State, I've got them number 4.
Okay.
So I've got, their returning production. They've got, I think, 11 guys coming back.
Yeah, there's 60%.
Yeah, 60%. So it's like, but it's kind of, it's like 80% on defense and 37% on on offense. They've got some pretty good transfers coming in. Dylan Edwards, the running back from Colorado, who is a 4-star, as well as an offensive tackle, Easton Kilty, or Killy. I can't read that right now. Kilty, I think so. Who's a 4-star. But I think that the biggest impact player is going to be Avery Johnson. Last year, like you mentioned, when he stepped in, he really looked great. He's a dual threat. He can run the ball. But I think that once he kind of gets established into the offense, there's going to be a lot less running, and it's going to be a lot more throwing. His running is something that I think is going to really kind of scare defenses, because that ability is there. He is able to do that. But his arm is something that not a lot of people talk about.
Sure.
So I think that he's going to come in. I think that he's going to have a good year. I don't think it's going to, he already kind of understands the offense. He already works well in it. But I think there's just going to be kind of that learning curve of he's just young. And when you go from a guy like Will Howard to Avery Johnson, there is a little bit of the maturity and just the knowledge and all that. But I don't think that that's going to be too big of a curve for him. So I've got Kansas State at number 4.
Fair enough. Yeah, my number 4, I've actually got also kind of like as my dark horse for the Big 12. And that's West Virginia. They are just consistently overlooked. Even when I was making this poll, I was just thinking to myself, I was like, I feel like there's another team in the Big 12 that I really should be paying attention to. They've got 70% returning production, which is pretty stinging good. It's not the highest in the Big 12 or anything like that, but they consistently, especially over the past couple of years, they have shown themselves to be an incredibly tough team to play against. And they've got a coaching staff that also matches the talent of their team. Like, they're just incredibly good. The biggest issue with them this year is their strength of schedule is they have one of the hardest schedules in the entire country.
Yep.
At 13 as it currently sits before the season. So I put them at number 4 in my top 5, but I really do have them as a dark horse to win the Big 12. Just like Dennis last year with Louisville and the ACC. I feel that
Luke.
Oh, I'm sorry, Luke. Whoops. Forgot. Editor, reverse that. Anyways, but like West Virginia, to me, just they have such a complete team. They're hard to beat, and again, they're one of those teams that just gets overlooked all the time. People just underestimate them just week in and week out, and I think that's one of the things that benefits them a lot. And so I want to give them a lot of respect.
Yeah, I definitely give them a lot of respect. Their schedule is just too tough, I think.
Yeah, no, I get you.
You start out with Penn State, which that's just going to be a hard conference season to begin.
Not impossible. It's just
not impossible, just hard. I mean, even Kansas, Oklahoma State, the gauntlet of Iowa State there. I mean, that's going to be a really tough.
That's going to be such a difficult game for them.
But realistically speaking, you've got Oklahoma State, then Iowa State, then Kansas State, and then Arizona in 4 consecutive weeks.
Yeah, no.
So it's going to be tough, and I didn't see them getting through that. But
and that's the thing is if they get through that, they should be a shoo-in to win the Big 12, but they will be a force to be reckoned with in the CFB. I like, as much as we want to say that Big 12 may not be at the same caliber at the top echelon of Big 10 and SEC play, I feel like if you're a team like that has gone through that kind of gauntlet all year, I feel like you've kind of proven yourself to some degree to be at least worthy of some respect.
Agreed.
Dennis?
It's a team that we kind of already talked about a little bit. My number 4 is actually Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Like, I do like them a lot. I understand when you said about coaching, them losing out. He went to Washington, but I feel like Fafita and McMillan, they're McMillan.
Yeah, I think it's McMillan.
I feel like the relationship they got and their team that they're building around them, and the leadership that they're going to be able to bring to the team, I feel like is going to propose them to still be able to compete at an extremely high level.
Sure.
And if the coaching staff is able to kind of let them run with it, let the team in a way handle itself, I feel like that's the team where is going to be the most dangerous, or could be the most dangerous team in the Big 12.
Sure.
It's a team that's already been established that they can win, that they can prove, and they can compete. Last year, when they were playing some top teams, and they were extremely competitive with the freshman quarterback, with the sophomore receiver, and those players have now not only did great just this past year with 1,400 receiving yards, and Papit, I mean, he's basically your favorite player.
Yeah.
Like, I think he threw just like in the high 20, like about 27 touchdowns, like 6 picks, almost, I think, 3,000 passing yards. And that was just as a freshman.
Right.
So I understand Pac-12, the Pac-12 at the time or the Pac when it existed, wasn't the most competitive defensive conference in general. But as a freshman, putting up those kind of numbers, there's a type of maturity where the more the person plays, the more on-field presence they have. As a person who's coached, that's a person that you don't know what the person's capable of.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to pull out all the stops and be very, very careful.
Yeah. Kind of open it up for him.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
All right.
Well, number 3,
I am going to Kansas. Kansas is an interesting one because obviously we are assuming that Jalen Daniels is going to be healthy, and he's not going to get hurt. Now, obviously, he had, I think it was like back injury last year that kept him out.
It's just a consistent game time decision.
Yeah. Again, they were pulling the Cam Rising.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see what happens next week. But I'm assuming that he's fully healthy. They're returning 15 players. Lance Leopold, whichever one it is. I think he's proven to be a very good, very, very, very good coach. Top 15, maybe top 20 coaches. They're returning production, 7 on offense, 6 on defense, 62% of their offense, and they're getting Jalen Daniels back. The big transfer that they got, they had 11 transfers, but the big transfer they got was the edge, Joby, I can't remember, from Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's going to come in and make an impact on that defense. So I just see them, again, their schedule. I think that it works out well for him. So I see them being number 3.
I can understand that. Yeah, I don't have to go very far from my number 3 because I've got Kansas State. So, but I can totally see the argument for Kansas. My reasoning for putting Kansas State there is while they are returning only 60% production, and their strength of schedule is at 27, which again they got kind of everything fighting against them.
Right.
They're one of those teams that just always plays at a bigger level, at a higher level. They always play really competitive ball. To me, like if I was to compare them to an SEC type team, you're looking at something similar to maybe honestly even like an Alabama. And if you're putting them in the Big 12, if you're looking at the Big 12, they're consistently vying for that top spot.
Sure.
Are they at the same caliber as Alabama? No, we've seen them play against Alabama recently, and they didn't do so well. But they held their own for a little bit. But again, we're talking Big 12 strictly. They just consistently vie for a top spot there. Kleinman is he's kind of earned that legendary status to some degree at Kansas State. And so even with a little, he can do a lot. And so I don't have much reservation putting them at number 3. Do I think that they're going to win the Big 12? No.
Yeah.
They're 2. I think they're going to run into personnel issues at the end of the day. But it's one of those things that it's hard. If I was making a list for the SEC, it'd be hard not to put Alabama in there as long as Nick Saban was there. Right. And so it's just the same kind of concept. They're just they just find a way to be at the top of the Big 12 every year, at least for the past few years.
Sure.
And so that's why I've got them at number 3. There wasn't anything majorly that stands out for me. I mean, I like what Avery Johnson's trying to do, stuff like that, but I don't really see any major additions that I was just like, ooh, yeah, that's going to be a game changer for them. It was more of just like, I just know what their coaching staff is capable of and what they're able to do with 3 stars. And I think that makes a big deal. Dennis, number 2.
I mean, number 3.
Or
Yeah, he's at number 4.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Lucas learning how to count. That's why he goes first.
I do.
He forgets numbers after 1. My number 3 is Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And I feel like they did really well last year. They're gonna, with Ollie Gordon kind of coming back, be able to kind of perform for them. I feel like it's gonna be a big factor. But the reason why I also don't have them kind of any higher, they do have potential to win the conference, just like I feel like anybody's top 5 here except Luke's. Like you put Iowa State. I lost all kind of credibility for you.
At 5.
I would have trusted you more putting Colorado.
Big 12 was it's top to bottom. Big 12 was the toughest schedule.
But no, I have Colorado there. Ollie Gordon, I feel is going to be great, but I feel like what's going to be holding them back is their quarterback, Alan Bauman, just because he didn't perform too well last year. He basically threw as many touchdowns as he did interceptions last year. I have him 15 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. So being able to control the ball is going to be one thing, but you can run all you like. But if you're a one-dimensional offense, you're going to get tapped out, especially with a stronger defenses. Stronger defenses or pretty good defenses are going to be coming into the conference or in the conference now.
Unless you're Colorado, then EA is going to put you at number 7.
Yes. Just have Sanders run and Hunter remain on field 100% of the time. You have a fighting shot.
Quarterback, receiver, and you're returning kicks.
Now, what else do you need?
That's right.
I hold out pretty far.
Yeah. All right, so number 2.
Number 2.
I'm going Utah. And this is strictly I love Kyle Whittingham.
Mm-hmm.
I love Cam Rising.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say I love their tight end that's coming back, but I couldn't remember his name. So I can't obviously say I love him if I can't even remember his name. But it is a strange name.
Yeah, don't say you love the tight end. I think it sounds a little strange.
Yeah, I like the tight end. No, but they've got good receiving production. Obviously, Cam Rising, he's going to have a little bit of rust. You don't know how much. You don't know how long it's going to take him to knock that off. He's, Father Time gets 40 years old. The rust kind of like stays a little bit longer with us. But they also had 12 transfers. They had some good, 4-star, 4-star tight end, a 4-star receiver in Dorian Singer from UCLA. Mm-hmm. Carson Ryan, the tight end from UCLA, Dorian Singer from USC, and Tayshawn Lyons from Washington. So they're really getting a whole lot of firepower in terms of their passing game in. Mm-hmm. This again was just one of those ones where I was looking at schedules, I was looking at everything else, and I put them in number 2. But my 2 and 1 are very interchangeable. It's really more of like a 1 on A.
Yeah.
But Utah's number 2.
I totally get that. My number 1 and 2 are very interchangeable as well. I've got Oklahoma State at my number 2. They've got 85% returning production, which is incredible. But to Dennis's point, their defense or their offense feels like it's going to be pretty one-dimensional to some degree. Love to be surprised that that's not going to be the case, and it's very possible it could be. Like Gundy is a phenomenal coach, and again, for me, as if you couldn't tell, coach is a big deal for the way that I rank a lot of these things.
Yep.
Because that's the most consistent piece, usually year in and year out for a team. And so
consistency is like coaches and Georgia getting arrested for drunk driving.
Yeah. So yeah,
the only coaches then you could
exactly
consistent and
and that consistency is important, especially Georgia. Get your stuff together. I don't understand what's going on there.
It's the heat. It's hot out there.
It's hot here too, but that doesn't matter. Like, I don't feel the urge to drive fast.
They call it Hot Atlanta for a reason, even though it's just out of Atlanta.
He's not even in Atlanta.
I know Athens. It's 30, 40 minutes from there.
It's not even that close.
Well, it lists Georgia players are driving, and then it's like 15.
Yeah,
that's how I got it anyway.
So Oklahoma State. I think that they easily could be vying for the Big 12 without a problem. Again, I still hold to my dark horse, but again, respect where it's due. They're returning a good chunk of a really good team last year, and they don't have a hard schedule in comparison to the rest of the top 5 in the Big 12. So I've got to put them 2. And that makes people probably guess what my number 1 is, but I think that they're a valid top 5 team.
Yeah.
I think that they're even more valid in the 1-2 position.
Sure.
So, Dennis.
My number 2 is Kansas.
Okay.
Like, I have them pretty high. They only lost about
Idiot.
they only lost 3 games last year, and I feel like if they would have had Jalen Daniels healthy, they would have had a really strong chance to possibly go undefeated or even with 1 loss. And that's going to weigh heavy on that. They're able to perform without him, but they're become a whole different team when they have him on the field. And I feel like that could be the difference from being a 3-loss team to possibly being a 1 or even an undefeated team.
Sure. All right. So as we go to our 1s, obviously, as we're counting down, you could probably kind of figure out where we're going. My number 1 team is going to be Oklahoma State. To a lot of the same points that Michael made, Oklahoma State and Utah are very, very close. Obviously, they're returning production, much like some of the other quarterbacks that I'm putting a lot of faith in, Jalen Daniels, and from last time, Cam Ward. I'm putting some faith in Bowman here. Obviously, they have got a great running back. Owen Gordon, I don't think you could argue that he's a top 5 running back. I think.
Yeah, no, there's no argue. He's a number 1.
You
could argue he's the number 1.
You could argue he's the number 1, but you can't argue this is the number at least 5. Either way, one of the best running backs in the country. I think Bowman, again, pulling from that same thing like Cam Rising. He's been there for, I think this is his 7th year. He's got that maturity, and I think this is one of those years where he's going to kind of figure out, just don't screw up.
Sure.
To your point, Dennis, almost as many interceptions as touchdowns. I think that this is just the year that he's going to put it together. Again, I'm taking a flyer on that one. But for me, the big thing was their schedule. And they've got a little bit of a gauntlet in the middle. I think it's games 4, 5, and 6 that they go Utah, Kansas State, West Virginia. If they can get through those without wins or with wins, it's theirs.
Yep.
And I think that it just works out perfectly for them. So I've got them going number 1.
Sure. And so for my number 1 pick, I've got a surprise for everyone. I've got Colorado.
Mike had to be there, so he became a new fan.
I'll be quite far away from Boulder.
Closer than us.
They could probably still throw their whatever balloons at us. I don't know. I might still go see CSU because I'd much prefer that team anyways. But no, my number 1 pick for the Big 12 and their debut season in the Big 12 is going to be Utah. I think you've got a team that while they're returning 72% production, which is less than Oklahoma State, you got a team that is itching not just for a championship, for a conference, but itching for a natty.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a team that if Cam Rising was playing that last year, you're talking a team that would have probably run the Pac-12, or at least been in that conversation for some kind of CFP play. And so I think that with everything that they've got returning, the fact that their schedule really isn't too bad at 45 out of like 45 strength of schedule, or 45th strength of schedule, I should say. I feel like it's one of those things that you're dealing with a team that has kind of every single intangible that you need to make it not just through their conference, but also in deep into the CFP. My biggest thing is going to be their talent floor, or just their talent ceiling. Are they going to be able to match the same level of talent as an Oregon at this point, or or an Ohio State, or a Georgia, or a Texas? And so that's going to be the biggest thing. And so if they're able to even come close to that, they're going to be putting some kind of version of a TCU run. Just hope that it just doesn't turn into a TCU national championship. So,
and I would actually have to agree with Michael here on this one with T10. I hate that I have to do it because he's wrong about 70% of the time, especially when it's
66, my friend.
66. Wow.
That's important. That's 4 points.
There's been times where you've been wrong 80%.
No.
Okay, 75%.
That's more like it. See, 5 points is a swing state, my friend.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
So, but there's one thing where I do agree with him, and I feel like usually if he agrees with Utah, they tend to kind of do bad, so it has me kind of concerned now. But all that being said, I feel like Utah has had to fight worse things than Michael's opinion. So I do go with Utah being, they are a really, I feel like to say scrappy is kind of an insult to them because they're dominant in defense, they're stingy in defense, and they just always seem to reload, not with the greatest talented players, but just be able to work as a team and be able to kind of close things together. And they're effective even without a Cam Rising, that they were able to perform with a third string quarterback.
Yep. The big farm.
And be able to get a safety to play running back, I believe.
Yeah.
So they find a way to win even when they don't have the proper pieces and they just make it work. So I would go with Utah. Like I feel like it's their conference title to lose.
And to be fair, it's only when I picked against Utah. When I picked for them, they won. It was when I picked against them, they still won. So it's like my
doing the opposite this year.
Yeah, I'm picking for them. I'm picking for them. Do I think they're going to lose every single game? Absolutely. So that's how that works.
And somehow be number one.
Yeah, but
then he's gonna be like, Cam Rodney
against them. If they're against them, they'll win.
He is risen. That's gonna be the basically tackle.
I'm not gonna do something that blasphemous, my guys. Anyways, well, again, let us know down below what your thoughts are about our top 5 picks for the 12th. What are your thoughts are about our thoughts? But then also let us know what your thoughts are on your top 5.
And who has the worst opinion of those 3?
And who has the big? Yeah, that
would have Colorado too as well.
Yeah. You're welcome to even say that they're not allowed to be in the Big 12. You could say they're like Mountain West or something like that. We think that that's a valid opinion. But thanks for joining tonight's Tailgate. Come back next week and join the conversation.